Hey everybody, Alex Gazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with a recap and reaction to the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 2 victory, 13-6 over the Denver Broncos, even more low scoring than the Week 1 18-10 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Pittsburgh, though, 2-0 is 2-0. Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. First half, the points weren't enormous, 10 at the break, but you were happy with the way the offense was moving. I think with Justin Fields having a full week, basically knowing he was going to be the starter wire to wire, even though Russell Wilson was questionable and not ruled out until inactives came in 90 minutes before kickoff. Fields had gotten all the reps and the offense really opened up. It wasn't as scared and conservative as it was against Atlanta. And you saw Fields really, I thought, play well early, be accurate, get the ball out quickly, on time, avoiding sacks, moving the ball, converting on third down, hit a third down slant to Pickens, hit a 3rd and 16 comeback to Pickens. There were some really high-level reps. And, of course, we'll talk about penalties and Broderick Jones and everything, but just putting that aside for a second, the 51-yard throw to George Pickens down the right sideline when Fields rolled to his right, that is one of the best throws I've ever seen a quarterback make. I know that's a little prisoner of the moment, but it is going to be one of the best throws of the entire season, and unfortunately, all for naught. To be off-platform, to laser it and layer the ball perfectly to Pickens against Surtain, an elite corner, maybe the best corner in football, and just, basically hand it to George Pickens was like a whoa moment. And so you saw some really good things from Fields in that respect. Thought operationally Pittsburgh was cleaner overall. There was the one hiccup late on that snap that Fields wasn't ready for. I don't put that on Fields in all likelihood, but just from an operations standpoint, where last week was pretty messy, especially early, much cleaner out of the gate and overall. So happy about that. The run game, had success early. I thought the O-line was getting a good push. Frazier and Dan Moore and others looked good early, and then the second half, it all just kind of really goes sideways. And penalties were a factor, but not the only factor. Just really ineffective. Fields felt a little more erratic. The run game wasn't quite there. Denver just either buttoned up or adjusted or did something to really limit Pittsburgh to, I think, about 100 yards of total offense in the second half. So, it's happy and good to get the victory, of course, but you got to be able to put teams away. You got one touchdown in 2 games. Somehow you're 2-0, the most Pittsburgh stat you can possibly think of, but you get the victory in this one. But obviously penalties just way too frequent across the board, offense, defense, special teams, but you get those offensively for a team like Pittsburgh that can't afford those missteps and miscues and stall out drives. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. That's why you have one touchdown in 2 games. Thought the team went away from George Pickens and finding ways to get him the football in the second half, more active in the first half. There were some, hidden yardage of penalties on Denver's part, some pass interferences down the sideline. Pickens drew at least one. Van Jefferson drew one. Calvin Austin, there was an illegal hit to a defenseless player that drew another. So you had kind of a Ravens, Joe Flacco offense in that sense, where you were getting some big chunks thanks to some DPIs and other penalties in the Denver secondary, but still need to see more production overall from the other receivers not named George Pickens on a day where Pickens is a tough matchup, and obviously would have had the touchdown that was taken away from that Van Jefferson pick. Pretty close. I can get why they call that, but certainly debatable. But still, Jefferson, Austin, not a ton of other production in terms of actual receiving stats, but there is the hidden yardage that should at least be acknowledged in what they gained in pass interference yardage. I thought Zach Frazier played really well. That snafu aside, it'll be very good to be in a home game where hopefully those things won't happen against the Chargers on Sunday in week number 3. He looked good. I thought Dan Moore played pretty well. There was a holding call on him that looked a little questionable, but I thought Moore did a good job. The Broncos lost some other pass rushers. They lost Franklin Myers, so maybe an easier matchup than anticipated for Moore, but that was good. Obviously, though, you got to talk about the right tackle situation. Pittsburgh coming into the game with the plan of having some sort of rotation at right tackle. Troy Fautanu, who started, played the first 2 series. Broderick Jones came in. We never got an idea of exactly what the rotation would look like. Would it be that Fautanu would play 2 and then Jones would play 1? We never got to any other point past that because Jones was a mess. I mean, you had 3 penalties in a span of a 14-play drive if you include the penalties as plays. You had, a missed block on a gap run. You had him getting beaten pass protection on that third down that Fields hit Pickens for. But yeah, 3 penalties, a false start that backed him up, a holding call that, obviously all backed him up, the penalties. And then the big one was that holding on that Fields to Pickens 51-yard completion. I know it's tough when the quarterback escapes to the outside and you're trying to react to that while he's behind you doing that and the defender has vision and you don't. And so that can be tough, but you got to let go in that moment. If that defender wants to suddenly start running to the outside, that probably means, obviously means the quarterback is leaving the pocket and you can't block it anymore. There's just nothing you can do. You have to let go. So was that one close? Yeah, kind of, but there was definitely a pull and restriction of the DN from being able to move to the outside. So they're going to get you on that. They just are, especially when you've been penalized 2 times before that, including one holding earlier in that drive. So a mess. He got benched, did not play. The right call there. I hate the idea of rotations to begin with, and we'll talk about this more on the podcast and throughout the week, I'm sure, on the site. So I just loathe that idea. Like, pick a guy, pick Fautanu, pick Jones. Either way, okay, fine, I can live with that, but pick a guy and stick with him. So I thought it was a bad idea going into the game. And obviously, Jones was a mess and he got benched, and so Fautanu was the guy the rest of the way. I imagine that rotation will not be coming back for week 3 against the Chargers, and we'll see what kind of role Jones has from there, tackle eligible. But you got your first-round pick benched here, playing a miserable game in a couple plays. Had a terrible performance in one drive, and so there's a lot of questions about his future. But yeah, bad plan to begin with. It only got worse as the game went on and as that plan was implemented. Defensively, what more can you say? Just a heroic effort by this group 2 weeks in a row. Just having to make every play, no margin for error, and they're just not giving up anything. Besides the, wildcat trick play to Reynolds for 49 yards that got them goal to go for Denver, that Corey Trice picked off Bo Nix in the end zone 2 plays later. That was all really Denver had. They had a couple catch and runs, some little Jordan Humphrey, but really that was it. And so it starts with run defense, and you felt confident Pittsburgh would not allow Denver to run in this game. Look at the stats about what Denver's running backs did. I know Bo Nix had a couple of scrambles, but Javonte Williams, 11 carries, 17 yards. Charlie McLaughlin, 3 carries for 6 yards. Tyler Batty had 1 run, but that was it. And Bo Nix led them with 25 yards rushing. So Nix has led the team in rushing in back-to-back weeks, which is not what they're looking for. So you felt like if you could do that, you could really make life tough on Nix. And Denver tried to adjust and throw on first down to not play for 3rd and long, but just you could only do that for so long with a rookie quarterback. You got to run the ball at some point to have some balance and take something off his plate, and they just could not get to that point. So great job up front. That's where it starts. Deshaun Elliott making great plays in coverage and in run defense. That 3rd and 1 stop, was just classic strong safety stuff. He is such a defined, and his range is limited in a sense, and he's not going to be this Minkah Fitzpatrick playmaker, but he's making plays in coverage. But he is a clear, strong safety. That's exactly what Pittsburgh needed. They did not have to have an elite guy, but Elliott's playing some fantastic football, and he's such a great fit for Pittsburgh's defense, what they need, what they require, and just a good fit for the AFC North overall. Trice to get his pick, what a play that was, and just so happy for him. All that Trice has been through on and off the field, missing his rookie with his torn ACL, all the injuries, all the personal tragedy he's been through. Just really happy for him to make a big-time play like that. I know that means a ton to him, and I'm sure his family as well. Just other odds and ends. Boswell, fantastic. 2 more field goals, 1 from 53 yards, so he's got 4 from 50 plus. Waitman punted well, but the touchbacks were frustrating. I thought Ben Skoranek had a great game as a gunner. He drew at least 2 penalties, had a tackle. Thought the coverage team was much better in this game overall. Again, the touchbacks and that disappointing there, but happy with the performance and the trend of that unit. Penalties still an issue, but I think you're finding some clarity at gunner that Skoranek can be one of your guys. Probably will get signed to the 53 here, either this week or next. And he's a guy that is ascending in his role. Watt, Highsmith defensively getting pressure, Hayward getting some pressure, Benton getting some pressure. That was just key. The rush worked well. They didn't blitz Nix as much as I thought they would, but it all worked out. Some negatives besides, Jones, the penalties on Joey Porter Jr., 3 of them, just too sloppy, just did not put the game away, obviously, and allow Denver to hang around. And that can work against, Kirk Cousins, who can't move, and Bo Nix in his second start, but you're going to play some tough teams later on, and so that has to change. When you're playing Patrick Mahomes, Mahomes cannot hang around, and rarely is he hanging around. You're trying to hang around with him. So, week one, you can kind of excuse it for all the circumstances about the quarterback uncertainty on the road, new coaching staff, all that kind of stuff, but you get into a point where you got to be able to expect more from this offense. But obviously, you're 2-0, you're happy, and week 3 will be a really good litmus test against an equally 2-0 Chargers team. So those are my initial thoughts. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff here, a lot to think about here in this one, but we'll see how this team gets ready for week number 3, go through the tape, and celebrate being 2-0, because that is not easy to do. First 2 games on the road, want to acknowledge that as well, and Pittsburgh will have some home cooking against the Chargers Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching and listening. Again, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.